governance, across the vast expanse of human history, has undergone a profound metamorphosis, emerging as a death cult wherein a select elite orchestrates sacrifices to sustain their unyielding dominion. Initially forged in the crucible of primal necessity, governance arose as a bulwark for communal preservation and collective survival, a structure designed to unify and protect against the chaos of the natural world. Yet, over the slow march of epochs, this foundational purpose has eroded, giving way to a mechanism engineered for the self-preservation and aggrandizement of a narrow ruling caste. This report asserts that governing structures, draped in the sanctimonious veil of public welfare, operate as a cult-like apparatus, perpetuating ritualistic sacrifices through systemic devastation and meticulously targeted persecution. Leaders, propelled by an egoistic fervor and a conviction of divine superiority, ascend through intricate webs of deception and calculated cruelty, their machinations obscured by the lofty rhetoric of progress, stability, and order. The theological undercurrent of sacrifice, deliberate and purposeful loss offered to a higher ideal, suffuses this system, reconfiguring governance into a sacred altar where elite ambition is both priest and deity. In the dim recesses of antiquity, rulers harnessed resources and human effort to fortify the collective against existential threats, their authority tethered to the survival of the whole. Over time, however, this mandate inverted, pivoting toward the consolidation of power within an exclusive echelon, a shift that reflects a deeper betrayal of governance's original covenant. The advent of modernity, with its abundance of resources, technological mastery, and the intricate web of global interconnectedness, has magnified this transformation, equipping elites with tools to exert unprecedented control while shrouding their motives in layers of complexity and opacity. This evolution has birthed a death cult of governance, one that manifests in the mass offerings of entire populations to the abstract deities of conflict or systemic neglect, and in the precise targeting of individuals, dissenters, rivals, or arbitrary souls, whose sacrifice reinforces the ruling hierarchy's iron grip. This system flourishes within a clandestine competition among elites, a shadowy arena where rulers vie for supremacy, their ascent contingent upon a readiness to betray the governed and guard against the treachery of their peers. The psychological underpinnings of this elite caste, marked by an insatiable ego and a detachment from the human cost of their actions, fuel a relentless pursuit of dominance, transforming governance into a battleground where loyalty to the system supersedes any allegiance to the populace. The ultimate aspiration, the universalization of this sacrificial order through global dominion, emerges as a vision to dictate the fates of civilizations, weaving a tapestry of life and death across continents and cultures. Though this dynamic finds heightened expression in the luxuries and intricacies of the modern era, where technology and abundance amplify the reach of power, its roots stretch deep into the annals of history, reverberating through the rise and fall of ancient empires to the intricate regimes of the present day, where the demand for sacrifice remains an immutable constant. The exploration of this death cult unfolds through four distinct yet interwoven lenses: the enactment of mass sacrifice within systemic policies, the precision of individual targeting through punitive measures, the competitive ascent of elites within the ruling hierarchy, and the relentless pursuit of global control as the apotheosis of this power structure. Each perspective illuminates how governance, as a timeless institution, sustains a cyclical perpetuation of harm, driven by an elite's unquenchable thirst for power and self-preservation. Cloaked in the guise of societal good, this system transforms the noble ideal of rule into a relentless engine of sacrifice, a transformation that demands introspection into the enduring cost of authority and the shadowy motives of those who wield it across the ages. Part 1. Mass Sacrifice in Systemic Policies. Governance orchestrates mass sacrifice through the intricate weave of systemic policies, a solemn and ritualistic offering laid upon the altar of elite power, where the sanctity of control supersedes all else. In the primordial dawn of human society, rulers marshaled the collective will of their people to ensure survival, forging governance as a shield against the relentless forces of nature and scarcity. Yet, this foundational covenant has undergone a profound distortion, evolving into a mechanism meticulously designed to perpetuate the dominion of a ruling elite, a shift that reflects a betrayal of its original purpose. Across the vast expanse of history, conflicts waged under the guise of necessity have devoured countless lives, their true essence veiled by the lofty rhetoric of security, unity, or ideological purity. These struggles, echoing through the ages, serve not the welfare of the collective but the insatiable ambitions of a privileged few, who harvest wealth, influence, and prestige from the ensuing chaos and devastation. Beyond the battlefields, systemic policies, encompassing health edicts, economic frameworks, and environmental policies, cast a pervasive shadow of harm, gradually sapping the vitality of entire populations with an almost imperceptible relentlessness. These measures, presented to the governed as benevolent instruments of public good, often conceal a deeper allegiance to elite interests, sacrificing the masses to preserve the rigid hierarchies that sustain the ruling order. The governance apparatus, with its sprawling bureaucratic labyrinth, erects an impenetrable fortress around its leaders, shielding them from the piercing gaze of accountability and framing the widespread toll of human suffering as an unavoidable toll of progress or stability. This dynamic mirrors the sacred rituals of a cult, where the deliberate loss of life or well-being is offered to appease a higher power, here reinterpreted as the unassailable dominance of the elite caste. The psychological constitution of these rulers, characterized by a profound detachment from the human cost of their decrees and a cold indifference to the governed, facilitates this cruelty, casting humanity as mere fodder in the relentless pursuit of their exalted status. The advent of modern advancements, with their capacity to amplify harm through the intricate interconnections of global systems, has intensified this perennial dynamic, extending the reach of sacrifice across continents and cultures. Yet, this phenomenon is not a novelty of the present age. It reverberates through the annals of time, from the conquests of ancient civilizations to the expansive policies of contemporary regimes, where the normalization of mass harm remains a constant thread. The death cult of governance thrives on this ability to embed sacrifice within the very fabric of societal order, transforming it into an unspoken covenant that sustains the elite's ascendancy. Leaders, ensconced within the inviolable legitimacy of their roles, orchestrate these acts of devastation with impunity, their motives shrouded in the ambiguous language of necessity, duty, or collective advancement. The governed, ensnared in a veil of ignorance regarding the ritualistic intent behind these policies, bear the heavy burden of this sacrificial order, their lives offered as tribute to a system that elevates elite preservation above the welfare of the whole. This exposition establishes that mass sacrifice, intricately woven into the structural essence of governance, perpetuates a timeless cycle of harm that serves as the bedrock of the death cult's power. The transformation from a governance rooted in survival to one obsessed with elite self-preservation underscores this shift, a process amplified by the luxuries and complexities of modernity. Technological prowess, abundant resources, and global interdependence, which provide the tools to scale this harm with chilling precision. Thus, the death cult endures. Its rituals of mass sacrifice a silent hymn to the enduring quest for dominance, cloaked in the sanctimonious garb of societal good across the ages. Part 2. Individual sacrifice and targeted persecution. Governance serves as a conduit for individual sacrifice through the meticulous art of targeted persecution, empowering elites to neutralize threats or assert their dominion with surgical precision. Throughout the sprawling continuum of human history, ruling structures have harnessed an array of punitive instruments, legal frameworks, enforcement apparatuses, and the subtle weapon of social ostracism, to suppress dissenters, rivals, or arbitrarily selected victims, weaving a tapestry of control that spans the ages. These acts, enshrouded in the sanctimonious cloak of justice, order, or societal harmony, function as ritualistic offerings, bolstering the unassailable authority of the governing few. Leaders, infused with an unshakable sense of superiority and divine entitlement, direct their gaze toward individuals who dare to challenge their hegemony, whether through the bold articulation of critique or the audacity of competitive ambition. Others, ensnared by the capricious whims of elite malevolence, become unwitting sacrifices, their demise a stark testament to the ruler's unbridled control over life and fate. The governance edifice, fortified by its codified authority and institutional legitimacy, sanctifies these acts, transmuting personal vendettas into the hallowed domain of sanctioned justice, a transformation that masks the underlying intent of domination. This dynamic resonates with the ritualistic expulsion of nonconformists within a cult, yet governance elevates this practice to a grander scale through the might of its institutional machinery, operating with brazen openness rather than the furtive secrecy demanded of smaller sections. The psychological disposition of these rulers, steeped in narcissism and a visceral propensity for cruelty, propels these actions, as they derive a perverse satisfaction from the assertion of dominance over individual lives, viewing each sacrifice as a reaffirmation of their exalted status. Historically, from the austere tribunals of ancient regimes to the intricate courts of contemporary societies, the mechanisms of persecution have undergone a subtle evolution, yet their enduring purpose remains unchanged: to offer up individuals as sacrificial lambs to preserve the stability and sanctity of the elite hierarchy. The advent of modernity, with its technological sophistication and expansive bureaucratic systems, has refined this precision, endowing rulers with the capacity to target with an efficiency that transcends the limitations of earlier eras. These advancements amplify the reach and accuracy of persecution, enabling elites to strike with a calculated ruthlessness that leaves little room for escape. The governed, often shrouded in a fog of ignorance regarding the ritualistic intent woven into these acts, perceive them as isolated aberrations of justice, failing to discern the broader pattern of sacrificial control that binds these incidents into a cohesive whole. This system, meticulously engineered, ensures that elites can eradicate threats to their authority while simultaneously reinforcing their preeminent position within the hierarchical order, their actions veiled by the impregnable legitimacy of governance. The death cult framework flourishes on this dual capacity to target individuals, deftly balancing the scale of mass harm with the intimacy of personal sacrifice to maintain a delicate and dynamic equilibrium of power. The transformation from governance as a tool for communal survival to a vehicle for elite self-preservation underscores this evolution, a shift intensified by the luxuries of modern existence: technological prowess, global interconnectedness, and abundant resources, which provide the scaffolding for such targeted precision. This section illuminates how governance, as an incarnation of the death cult, extends its insidious tendrils into the lives of individuals, leveraging institutional mechanisms to enact targeted harm while preserving the illusion of order and righteousness. Across the ages, from ancient edicts to modern decrees, this practice endures, a silent testament to the enduring alliance between power and sacrifice, where the governed remain unwitting participants in a ritual that exalts the elite at their expense. Part 3. Competitive Ascent of Elites. The ascent of elites within the intricate framework of governance mirrors the relentless hierarchical struggle of a cult, where only those steeped in deception and cruelty ascend to the pinnacle of power. In its nascent incarnation, governance emerged as a beacon of survival, uniting disparate communities under the stewardship of leaders entrusted with the sacred duty of preservation, a role forged to shield humanity from the abyss of chaos and want. Yet, as the tides of history ebbed and flowed, this foundational mission underwent a subtle yet profound shift, redirecting its purpose toward the self-preservation of a narrow elite, a transformation that betrays its original covenant with the collective. Rulers, propelled by an unquenchable ego and a conviction of divine entitlement, engage in a clandestine arena of competition, their rise to prominence etched with the indelible marks of deceit, manipulation, and sacrificial acts that define their fitness for dominion. This rivalry, shrouded from the public eye by an opaque veil of secrecy, imposes an ironclad demand for loyalty to the systemic order over any allegiance to the governed, compelling leaders to betray the trust of those they profess to serve with hollow promises of stewardship. The governance structure, a labyrinthine edifice of authority, bestows rewards upon those who master the art of manipulation, their willingness to inflict harm upon others serving as a solemn testament to their suitability for wielding power. Unlike the fragile cohesion that undermines traditional cults, governance offers a mantle of legitimacy and an expansive scale, empowering elites to orchestrate sacrifices with impunity, their actions insulated from the piercing scrutiny of exposure. The pervasive fear of displacement fuels this competitive fervor, as leaders erect impenetrable defenses against betrayal, acutely aware that any sign of weakness within the system they uphold may precipitate their own sacrificial downfall at the hands of their peers. The trajectory of ascent varies, with some elites embarking on a deliberate and measured climb, weaving intricate networks of like-minded rulers whose cunning is honed through the crucible of time and experience. Others pursue a meteoric rise, propelled by the fleeting brilliance of public spectacle, though such rapid ascensions often teeter on the brink of swift and ignominious decline. This dynamic, a constant refrain across the annals of history from the opulent courts of antiquity to the sophisticated regimes of the present, unveils a timeless verity. The acquisition and retention of power necessitates sacrifice, both of the lives and trust of others and of the personal integrity that once defined leadership. The complexities of modernity, global networks that span continents, the far-reaching grasp of technological innovation, amplify the intensity of this competition, yet its essence remains an unalterable constant, rooted in the primal instincts of dominance and survival. Elites signal their unwavering allegiance to this cult-like pact through actions that sow harm and discord, their private comprehension of power's unspoken rules forging an invisible bond that unites them in a shared pursuit of supremacy. The governed, ensnared in a fog of ignorance regarding this hidden struggle, discern only the polished facade of service and benevolence that masks the true nature of elite ambition. The evolution from governance as a tool for communal preservation to a vehicle for elite self-preservation, intensified by the luxuries of modern existence, abundant resources, technological mastery, and global interdependence, underscores this shift, providing the fertile ground for such competitive ascent. This section elucidates how the competitive ascent of elites, propelled by deep-seated psychological traits and the systemic incentives that reward ruthlessness, sustains the death cult of governance, ensuring that dominion remains the exclusive domain of those willing to sacrifice others to secure their own exalted place within the hierarchy. Part 4. Pursuit of global control. The ultimate ambition of governance, conceived as a death cult, crystallizes in the grand vision of global control, a transcendent aspiration wherein elites assume the mantle of arbiters, dictating sacrifices across the vast expanse of civilizations. In its primordial origins, governance took root as a localized instrument of survival, a fragile bulwark crafted to protect insular communities from the ravages of nature and scarcity. Over the relentless march of time, however, this humble foundation has transmuted into a mechanism of universal dominion, empowering rulers to orchestrate harm on a scale that defies the boundaries of earlier epochs. Systemic policies, spanning the theaters of conflict, the intricate webs of economic structures, and the sweeping edicts of global directives, emerge as the instruments of mass sacrifice, their true intent shrouded beneath the polished rhetoric of progress, unity, or collective salvation. Complementing this broad sweep, the precise art of individual targeting, wielded through punitive measures or coercive strategies, enables elites to excise threats with surgical accuracy, reinforcing their unassailable authority. The governance framework, adorned with a veneer of legitimacy that gleams with the promise of order and stability, cloaks these acts of devastation, presenting them as indispensable pillars of global harmony. Leaders, driven by a theological impulse to transcend the mortal constraints of humanity, pursue an almost divine control over life and death across national borders, their ambition resonating with the imperial dreams of ancient conquerors yet magnified by the intricate tapestry of modern interconnectedness. This relentless pursuit, however, is ensnared in a web of competition, as elites vie for supremacy within a precarious hierarchy, each wary of merging power structures that might erode their singular authority. Every ruler, harboring the aspiration to ascend as the ultimate arbiter of fate, lives under the shadow of becoming a victim of the very system they uphold, a dynamic that perpetuates an unending cycle of sacrifice and betrayal. Historically, from the sprawling empires of antiquity to the intricate alliances of the contemporary world, the quest for global control has exacted a relentless toll, demanding the sacrifice of populations through the brutal machinery of conquest or the insidious erosion of systemic neglect. The advent of modern advancements, encompassing the far-reaching tendrils of technological prowess, the expansive reach of global institutions, and the seamless coordination across vast distances, elevates this ambition to new heights, equipping elites with the tools to inflict harm with a precision and scale unimaginable in earlier eras. Yet, the essence of this death cult remains an eternal constant, its roots buried deep in the primal desire to dominate through the ritualistic offering of lives, a motif that threads through the fabric of human governance across the ages. The governed, fragmented by the artificial divides of borders and the kaleidoscope of ideologies, remain oblivious to the unified intent that binds these acts, perceiving only the disjointed echoes of isolated policies or fleeting conflicts. The transformation from governance as a tool for localized preservation to a vehicle for elite self-preservation, intensified by the luxuries of modernity, abundant resources, technological mastery, and global interdependence, underscores this evolution, providing the fertile ground for the pursuit of global control. This section establishes that the quest for global dominion, as the apotheosis of the death cult, universalizes the practice of sacrifice, leveraging the institutional might of governance to enact harm while deftly navigating the delicate interplay of elite competition and reluctant cooperation. Across the corridors of time, from ancient realms to the intricate networks of the present, this ambition endures, a silent testament to the enduring alliance between power and sacrifice, where the governed remain unwitting participants in a ritual that exalts the elite at the cost of humanity's collective spirit. Conclusion. Apotheosis of power. Governance, conceived as a death cult, unveils a timeless and pervasive system wherein elites, propelled by the twin engines of ego and unrelenting cruelty, orchestrate sacrifices to perpetuate their ironclad dominion across the annals of human existence. In its embryonic origins, governance crystallized as a bastion of survival, a sacred trust forged to shield communities from the relentless onslaught of chaos and deprivation. Yet, this noble inception has undergone a profound metamorphosis. evolving into a sophisticated mechanism engineered for the self-preservation of a privileged elite, its harmful machinations veiled beneath the sanctimonious guise of public good. Mass sacrifices, enacted through the vast theaters of conflict and the insidious tendrils of systemic policies, consume entire populations, while the precise artistry of targeted persecutions eliminates dissenters and rivals, fortifying the unassailable authority of the ruling caste. The competitive ascent of rulers, etched with the indelible marks of deception and sacrificial acts, ensures that only the most ruthless and cunning prevail, their private struggles for supremacy concealed from the unseeing eyes of the governed. The pursuit of global control, heralded as the ultimate ambition of this cult, aspires to universalize the sacrificial order, casting a shadow across civilizations as elites seek to dictate the delicate balance of life and death with an almost divine prerogative. This dynamic, though magnified by the intricate complexities of the modern era, global networks that span continents, the formidable reach of technological prowess, and the seamless interplay of interconnected systems, resonates as an eternal echo through the corridors of history, from the regal courts of ancient rulers to the labyrinthine regimes of contemporary elites. The theological essence of sacrifice, deliberate and purposeful loss offered to secure elite gain, serves as the unifying thread that binds these mechanisms, transfiguring governance into a sacred altar where power is both priest and deity. Leaders, ensnared in a relentless competition to maintain their dominance, live under the constant specter of their own system's retribution, a fear that ignites a ceaseless cycle of cruelty, betrayal, and self-preservation at the expense of the governed. The governed, shrouded in a veil of ignorance regarding the ritualistic intent that underpins these acts, bear the heavy burden of the sacrificial order, their lives offered as tribute to sustain a hierarchical structure that elevates elite preservation above the collective welfare. Historical patterns, spanning the conquests of bygone empires, the pervasive harm of systemic neglect, and the targeted persecution of those who dare to challenge authority, lend credence to this perspective, exposing a system that thrives on the ritualistic offering of human lives to fuel its machinery of power. Modern advancements, with their unparalleled capacity to scale harm across vast distances and populations, intensify this enduring dynamic, yet its roots plunge deep into the timeless human impulse to dominate, a drive that transcends the boundaries of era or culture. The death cult of governance, a seamless fusion of mass and individual sacrifice with the grandiose ambitions of global dominion, transmutes the once noble ideal of rule into a relentless mechanism of destruction, a transformation that erodes the very foundation of communal trust. This exposition concludes that governance, as an incarnation of the death cult, perpetuates an unbroken cycle of harm, a legacy that demands a profound and introspective reckoning with the incalculable cost of authority and the shadowy motives of the elites who wield it across the ages. The evolution from a governance rooted in survival to one obsessed with elite self-preservation, amplified by the luxuries and complexities of modernity, underscores this shift, beckoning humanity to confront the enduring alliance between power and sacrifice. In this light, the governed must pierce the veil of deception to unveil the true nature of rule, challenging the elites who perpetuate this cycle with an unwavering resolve to reclaim the sanctity of governance for the collective good.